A leader's ability to work with diverse populations is really vital for the success of 21st century organizations. This is something that kind of goes without saying, particularly in this modern age where so much has become so global so quickly. Uh, it's important to understand that leaders who don't really engage this process, or leaders who don't really take the time to understand who their followers are, or who their constituents are, or who those people that use their services are, really set themselves apart by creating an environment where communication breaks down, an environment where you really don't understand what's happening with your people. Um, this is something that has taken place within a lot of industries, and particularly one that is damaging as organizations are increasingly global. A leader who can actually embrace this process and a leader who can understand that the diversity or the differences don't really mean that it's a bad thing. It requires a little more work within an organization, but it's not a bad thing to have people representing different perspectives, different cultures, different ethnic identities. This is something that's beneficial. It's also important to understand that diversity is a lot more than just skin tone. Years ago, I had an opportunity to work with a student who was doing research within an African American church in the New York metropolitan area. One of the concerns that she had was that there was a lack of diversity within this church body. When she actually went to start investigating this and interviewing the congregants and the participants in this church, she found that most people were unaware that there was a lack of diversity. In fact, one woman responded by saying, "Everyone here is black. Of course we're diverse." And this student found that there was a very different perspective when it came to discussing diversity, depending on who you're talking to. And so she brought this point up, and it was a very interesting study, but it gave her the opportunity to really have this springboard to start researching it. Now, I tell you that example because it's something that happens within organizations also, where we have leaders who look at this idea of diversity and they say, well, okay, it really comes down to who I'm hiring and skin tone, what their maybe country of origin was, and that's really where diversity ends. Diversity is so much more than that, and I think it's a big word. Even at times when we talk about diversity, it might even be a little bit of a dated term, particularly when we get into the field of management and leadership and organizational studies. In fact, years ago, there were a lot of diversity management, diversity training type programs that leaders of corporations had to go through and actually still do in many industries. However, these usually were very surface types of experiences, very surface trainings, where they really tried to sum up this idea of difference and really put it in a box. Or we either celebrate those differences or we try to ignore those differences. There were these really two different approaches, but neither really was authentic. And it's interesting to point out that when we're identifying this idea within an organization, the importance of diversity, that it's not just about what color is this person or where did this person's family or ancestors come from, that it's so much more than that. It's a diversity of perspective, it's a diversity of ideas, and it gives us really an opportunity to learn so much more about those people with whom we're working. It also gives us an opportunity to learn more about ourselves and the perspective that we have.